Well, thousands of Borderland drivers were arrested last year for impaired driving-related charges. Residents and officials frustrated with the level of drinking and driving here in El Paso. And while the drivers face charges most of the time, restaurants and their servers can also shoulder some of the blame. In this special report, I explore the issues with the Texas Alcohol and Beverage Commission, about the penalties at stake, and a local server who says she walks a fine line.
Behind every statistic is a human life, and behind every life is a family.
Drinking and driving in El Paso, an undisputed issue, and one that's growing. DWI arrests increased 6% from 2023 to 2025. While the drivers get most of the media coverage, there is a chance that a restaurant that overserves their customers can face penalties as well. If there is potential wrongdoing, the Texas Alcohol and Beverage Commission can bring charges against an establishment.
It's a really kind of a two-part process for TABC. We have the education component as well as that preventative component. And then on the back end, we work with local officials in El Paso and elsewhere to ensure that any restaurants that do conduct this type of behavior are held accountable and brought back into compliance.
On the surface, the law would seem fairly reasonable.
It is against state law for anyone to serve alcohol to someone who's showing signs of intoxication. For the server, it could be a misdemeanor that could lead up to possibly a year in jail or a fine. And for the business itself, that could also result in a fine, or if it's a repeat offense or a very egregious breach, it could be a suspension or a cancellation of their alcohol license.
But in everyday practice, things aren't so cut and dry. We sat down with a local server who agreed to do our interview anonymously, who says what her bar wants and what the law wants are two different things.
I think there's fear of retaliation from the customer, from maybe your manager, because they're worried about sales, or you're supposed to meet a certain amount of sales.
She tells us sales quotas and adhering to the law can oftentimes come into conflict. That includes a time where her team was asked to push a certain drink. She was falling behind and made a hasty sale.
We were doing a competition of who could sell the most balls. I had gotten yelled at by one of my managers earlier that day, and I was doing a double because I hadn't sold any yet. They only got one each, but I realized after that they were probably drinking before they came.
That experience scared her because her job was on the line if just one of those customers got a DWI. And her managers, who pushed the competition, probably would not face charges.
Generally, the misdemeanor will be directed toward the person that conducted the sale. So the person that actually had eyes on the customer prior to and during the sale, that would be the person that would be held possibly criminally liable.
How hard to tell?
Hard to tell.
How hard?
It depends on the person, but sometimes people are just naturally chatty. I mean, really, alcoholics are really good at hiding that they're drunk because they're used to being drunk.
The TABC tells us the line is understandably thin, but the law is the law, and servers need to think of themselves first.
Be proactive and take initiative if you understand that there might be a chance that you're selling alcohol to someone who's already had too much.
I think it's important to understand not only the pressure and fear factor coming from a customer, but also from where you're working and the money aspect, and that I think servers should hold some blame, but they also need to have support.
Well, Chris Porter tells us that if servers, bartenders, or just regular customers feel like that they need to speak up, they can always report violations of alcohol laws or file a complaint against a TABC licensed restaurant over on their website. We have a link to that on KTSM.com.
I think